There's no better way to enjoy the change of seasons than a hike, taking in the fall foliage and maybe discovering a waterfall or two. So that's what I'm going to do on today's Where You Live. It's hard to believe on this warm, gorgeous day that fall with its array of colors is just around the corner. But as these days subside and it gives way to chillier temperatures, as well as a fair share of precipitation, there's one outdoor activity that just seems to get even better. There's nothing quite like a fall hike, and when the payoff is a gorgeous waterfall, why wouldn't you? We're blessed here in the Sea to Sky with a number of stunning falls, and several of them are strikingly easy to get to. So to learn a little bit more about local waterfalls, I'm joined by Heather Kawaguchi from Tourism Squamish. So Heather, what is your favorite local waterfall?
My favorite waterfall is Shannon Falls.
Oh, that's where we are.
Where we are today, yeah.
It's just behind us here.
Yeah.
And why is that your favorite?
It's my personal favorite because it changes with the seasons. There's always something new and interesting to look at, whether you're driving down the highway or visiting. It's just always different. It's always brilliant. It's always a great place to be.
Nice. So would you say this is the waterfall you most recommend? When people ask you, hey, which waterfall should I go for a hike to? Which one do you usually recommend? Is it this one?
I absolutely always recommend Shannon Falls, especially as a local and also to visitors who are coming to Squamish. It's really the premier first stop when you're heading into Squamish, and in my opinion, the best waterfall in the corridor.
Nice. And what is it that makes this particular area so special around Shannon Falls?
The forested trails, the access to the other provincial parks, the access to the Sea to Sky gondola, the fact that it is the third highest waterfall in BC, 335 meters tall. You can hike all the way to the top. You can rest here at the bottom, have picnics with your family. There's just always something different to do here.
Nice. And what other waterfalls in the Sea to Sky are you a fan of?
I really love Brandywine Falls, and I also really like Nairn Falls, and those are other excellent provincial parks on the way up the highway to Whistler and Pemberton.
Nice. Cool. Well, I've heard a couple little stories about this particular waterfall, about Shannon Falls. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, there's actually a few different stories that circulate throughout the locals, and they all originated through the First Nations people, the Squamish First Nations. But the one that I hear the most often is the one about the two-headed serpent that, you know, supposedly lived in the Howe Sound and then slithered up the Shannon Falls and kept going up and up and up till it created carved the waterfalls and created a pool at the top for the water to spill over.
Nice. Very cool.
That's one version. There's several others.
Yes, I've heard a few out there. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then what is it about fall in particular do you find that really makes waterfall hiking so lovely?
Again, just that the conditions can change every day. So if it's really rainy in the rainy season, there's a lot of water spilling over Shannon Falls, which can make it very spectacular and refreshing. You know, when you're hiking on a crisp fall day, the changing colors of the trees, just the wildlife, all kinds of different wildlife every day, whether they're, you know, hunting, gathering, hibernating, it's always different.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for filling me in about more of these local waterfalls. We're going to go do a little waterfall exploring today. And I think actually right now we're going to go for a little hike. Now, I know Shannon Falls, you can actually hike to the top.
You can.
Yes. How many times have you done that?
Several.
Yes.
No, not at all. Not all the way to the top. About halfway. Yeah.
Okay.
Halfway.
Is it tough? Is it a tough hike to the very top?
No, it's okay for anybody who, you know, recreates and lives in the Squamish area. It's pretty manageable. There's also rock climbing at the top, and you can swim up there as well.
Oh, okay. I think I'm going to go check that out. But first, maybe let's go check the base of the falls first. So we're going to go explore the base of Shannon Falls, and later on I'm going to check out the Upper Shannon Falls Trail. On our list of worthy waterfalls in the Squamish area is Upper Shannon Falls. The base of this towering cascade is easily accessible, making it a simple venture for people of all ages and abilities. But if you can manage the more difficult trek to Upper Shannon Falls, we definitely recommend it. Starting out on the same path that leads you to the summit of the Chief, you catch the turnoff at the junction for the Upper Shannon Falls Trail. It's an easy start, but quickly ascends. You'll encounter some fantastic viewpoints along the way, and again with a big payoff at the top. In and around Squamish, there are plenty of waterfall hikes that you can attempt, though some are trickier to get to than others. You can find the trailhead for Crooked Falls just off Ashley Road, and the High Falls Creek trailhead is located just off Squamish Valley Road. In the mood for something really adventurous? If you can make your way across the Squamish River, you can do a challenging ascent that leads past a continuous cascade called Monmouth Creek. Now, unlike the other waterfalls on our list today, this one's really difficult, but if you can manage it, it's well worth it. Be prepared to hike straight up a steep vertical climb where you will come across pools for swimming and incredible views. You may even find some brave rappellers navigating the canyon through which the waterfall makes its way. Further north, there's another effortless waterfall by the name of Aleksich Falls. This tumbling gem is located just off the Callahan Valley Road on the way to Whistler Olympic Park. The waterfall has a viewing platform right off the parking lot, so there's no hike involved. Well, there's nothing stopping you from doing an epic hike to the base of a waterfall, and if you're feeling particularly brave, you could even do it in the winter time. I'm joined by waterfall enthusiast Chantal Limoges, who has hiked to the base of Aleksich Falls in the winter on snowshoes. Can you tell me a bit about that experience?
That was a really fun day. It was during a cold snap in December, and the snow, it was about 20 centimeters that had fallen, so we started from the Callahan base and we made our way down, and it was absolutely stunning. It was like trees covered in snow, and there were trees that had fallen over who had snow on top of them, so they kind of looked like a cabin. And then we made our way down here, and when we got to the base right over here, it took your breath away. It was just these beautiful, ginormous icicles had frozen over. There was an area in the middle of the falls that hadn't quite frozen over yet, and so there was still, like, you could see how the icicles were continuing to develop. There was like these beautiful shades of blue and all the snow all around. So it really was kind of one of those frozen magical moments that you don't anticipate until you're right next to it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And Aleksich Falls, we're here now. It's early fall, late summer, so the falls are a little quieter, I guess, than usual.
Yeah.
But special nonetheless. And what do you think it is that really makes Aleksich Falls special?
Well, it's a few things. I mean, the sheer size of it is amazing, and I mean, at any time you come, that spring or winter or summer, like, there's just so much happening. I mean, there's like 3 levels. It's like at 141 feet, I believe, and then at its widest, it's 40 feet wide. So it's just, there's so much water kind of coming down, and the features kind of always change. And I think that's one of my favorite things about waterfalls, is that anytime you come, they're always a little bit different. You know, you come early spring or in the winter. In the winter, they're frozen. In the spring, they're kind of still pumping out. In the summer, they can either be high or low, pending the rainfall. And then here, after the 2010 games, access became a little bit more easy for people, you know, as with the snowshoe trails that got developed. And
the road is just right here.
Yeah, people.
So we just pulled right off the road, and boom, we're here in front of a waterfall.
And it's perfect for people who like want an easy access, a beautiful picnic area. I've seen wedding photos taken out here, and it just takes my breath away every time. I just love it.
This platform really opens it up too, because we're standing right above the falls. You've got a nice kind of vantage point right into the waterfall there.
Yeah.
And it looks like, because it's later season too, that the waterfall has kind of opened up a fair bit, and maybe there's a opportunity to go behind part of the waterfall or jump in a pool at the bottom there.
Yeah, like that's the exciting part, you know, when you come to it, like the little cave that's there, like I would love to explore that right now with all the moss that's there, and then to maybe even try and find a little higher up on the rocks where maybe you can go into the pool and kind of stand closer to it. I mean, it's really all about that power of the water, you know, and feeling it, and just being so inspired by it.
Very cool. And what was your favorite hike you've done so far this summer? Because we're coming to the close of summer, you must have gone out there and done some fun adventures.
I did a few. I went out to the Sioux Falls and kind of explored those ones. So those ones need more of a 4x4 vehicle to kind of get to them. They're a little bit off the beaten path, off the Sioux. I did the base of Brandywine Falls again. I did those ones, and Rainbow Falls. Those were some of my ones. There's also one in Wedge right off the Sea to Sky Trail. It's easy to miss because you kind of walk over the bridge, but if you actually walk around the bridge and you kind of scoot a little bit down, you get to this beautiful waterfall, and it's got like trees, and I don't know, there's trees everywhere, but it's so good. Like it's all about finding those secret gems.
Do you have one on your list that you still want to get to this year?
This year, yes. I'd like to do Echo Falls, like up in Squamish area. I'd like to redo the Sea to Summit Trail at Shannon Falls. The upper part of the falls at Shannon Falls, it's so nice because it's one of those ones where it's just a little bit off the trail, and you kind of have to like scoot down these rocks, and then you get into it, and it's this waterfall that's kind of coming down, and these beautiful little areas, and you can stand on the rocks right next to it, and you know that maybe there's a possibility to sit in the pools underneath as well. And
I think that's one of the special things too about this area is that there's so many waterfalls that are close and easy to get to, like Aleksich Falls or Shannon Falls, but if you just make that extra bit of effort, you can really get in there and get to some spectacular extra spots that are trickier to get to, but make it all the more fun.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's all about going that little extra further and bringing a little bit with you. I'm at the point now with a friend where we always discuss, well, okay, so should we be bringing rope now? And should we get into rock climbing? And, you know, because it's always that discussion of when we're looking at the fall, okay, well, we can get down, but how will we get back up? You know, can we do this safely? And even for the winter time, you know, I'm excited about, you know, one day getting to the point where I can maybe climb a frozen waterfall. Like that's just like the long-term goal of seeing it and where it's going. So yeah, these are kind of things that the more I do it, the more I'm like, okay, yes, that's more of a challenge. But I also like the easy hikes. Like Rainbow Falls is a perfect one to do after a day of snowboarding in the wintertime or in the summer, just kind of like a chill morning walk. And you get these like small waterfalls, but great.
Awesome. Well, I have waterfall fever now. Can we go see another waterfall? Yeah. Where should we go?
Let's go to Brandywine.
Okay, awesome. Let's do it. Okay. Heading a little further north until you almost reach Whistler, you'll see the turnoff for Brandywine Falls Provincial Park. Although you can no longer camp at this park, it's a beautiful stop along the Sea to Sky Trail and Highway 99, the perfect spot to relax and have a picnic. From here, you can enjoy several lookouts to the falls and Daisy Lake in the distance. I love coming to Brandywine Falls, and there's a few reasons why. One is that it's a really easily accessible waterfall. I bring my friends and family and people that are visiting. It's a nice flat route right here to the viewing platform, so anybody can get here very easily. Another reason why it's my favorite is because you can hike to the base. Now this one's a little bit trickier, but it was one of my very favorite hikes that I've ever done in the area. And I know it's one of your favorite hikes that you've done before, Chantal. Yeah. So tell me a bit about your experience hiking to the base of Brandywine.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. So it's been one of those ones where it's kind of been a little bit trial by error, kind of one of those ones. But we took us about 45 minutes to an hour to get down. There's scrambling over rocks, going down over trail, kind of like there's some bigger boulders at the beginning that kind of like more lava-ish rocks that are kind of there, and you're kind of going over them, and then you get into this beautiful forest that's kind of mossy and like big trees, and then after that you get to the river, you hear the river, then once you get to the river you kind of walk up and you can kind of get to the base right here. And just, again, it's one of those ones where you're not totally prepared for the power of it, and then once you get right near it, you're kind of like,
you get very wet when you get to the base there.
So wet. And you're yelling like, I can't hear you!
Yeah, like, loud and wet.
And windy.
And windy, yeah.
Yes.
Because you're in this almost kind of funnily kind of a canyon.
Yeah.
So you really can feel the power of the waterfall. It's really amazing.
And it's nice to sit away a little bit too. You can get some really beautiful shots. I mean, there's so many photographers that come out here for those like key shots, and they're stunning. But even as an amateur photographer, you can like get some of the most beautiful photography.
Yeah, get some distance between the waterfall and yourself, and you can kind of sit and relax, maybe enjoy a little picnic and take some pictures. But getting up closer to the base of the waterfall can get a bit tricky.
Yes. So you have to be prepared. It is slippery for sure, so good footwear. Definitely a strong recommendation. Some extra clothes after too, or waterproof jacket, but like definitely making sure that you have good footwear so you can get to it, that you maybe even have a walking stick, because you kind of have to like walk over some areas, some steeper rocks, well, bigger, that kind of like create a steep little one. And because there's more people down there, you have to like take your turn and be patient.
Yes, yeah. And so since we're here, standing at the top on the viewing platform right here, can you tell us a little bit more about Brandywine? So what facts and interesting things do you know about Brandywine?
Well, my science facts that I know about it really kind of based around that it was kind of like lava rock and formations that kind of happened. So like long time ago, there was like lava rock and like basalt, soft rocks and soil. And then when the water would melt, it kind of like pushed it down, and then one day this area kind of collapsed, and that's what created the waterfall. Okay. So now we get this like beautiful veiled waterfall.
It's a veiled waterfall because it really spills right over and goes straight down without hitting any rocks along the way. So it forms this beautiful veil right into the pool below.
Yeah, stunning.
Do you know how tall it is?
I don't know. I have to go look at the facts. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I know more about this waterfall than you do.
Well, you tell me a story about the waterfall.
Do you know where it got its name?
No, I'm curious to find out.
Okay, so there is a story that goes that there was a couple surveyors in the area. They came across the waterfall and they wanted to make a bet on how tall it was. And the bet for the winner would receive a bottle of brandy wine. So they had to go out and measure it with a chain length. And then the person who won the brandy, and then they drank it and decided to call it Brandywine. So that's the story that I heard. I don't know how true that is.
That's awesome. Should maybe go get some Brandywine.
Yes, maybe we should. That would do the hike and drink some brandy after the hike to celebrate.
Yes.
Because I think that's always well worth it.
Yeah, celebrate up here. Cheers.
Yeah. And it's beautiful too because here on the platform there's a couple different lookouts down to Daisy Lake, which is spectacular as well.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, those breathtaking lakes where it like looks on and on and on, and depending on how high the water is, some days you see lots of trees and other days you're kind of like, I could hike out there for days on end and continue exploring. Like you see people backpacking there and like they come out with their tents and you're like, I want to do that one day. That looks awesome.
It's awesome. And it's right here in our own backyard, so we're incredibly lucky to have places like this so nearby.
Yeah, it's one of my top favorites when family comes to visit or friends, you know, like let's do something different. Let me take you to something you won't have at home. You know, you like either from the top platform or even doing the hike all the way down to the base. And you kind of have this unique experience that you get to share with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and talking waterfalls.
Thank you.
It's been a great time. As we mentioned, be very careful when hiking around waterfalls. It's very important to be prepared. So head out with a friend, tell friends where you're going, bring extra water and food, dress in layers, bring a waterproof jacket, be extra careful because it can be very slippery when you're hiking around a waterfall. So safety first, remember that, guys. That's it for today's Where You Live. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Kristy Aleksich with Shaw Sea to Sky.